taking the high road usually meant the highway. That's where we get the word highway from. The high road was the one that was built up so that the water ran off and it didn't get flooded. The low road got flooded. So when somebody says, I'm going to take the high road, it also meant that they were very visible. On the low road, you could sneak around. But on the high road, everyone could see you coming. I want to talk about the high road. Before I get there, I want to talk about 2 points on how to get there. And I'm talking about the high road of morality. I probably hold it to a different standard than you do, but let's see where it goes. Number one, before you can take the high road in a moral fashion, and I'm talking about taking the high road no matter what, you got to trust in God. That's first. You have got to trust in God. Now this sermon isn't about me, but I'm going to start with a couple examples from me. In my travels, I have shared stories over and over about how I trust in God. Coaster can tell you that when we traveled together, we were trusting in God. We not only trusted in God to get us there and back safely, sometimes we trusted in God for the money. Sometimes it was early on in a trip we didn't have enough money. Usually we had enough money to get there, but getting home was an iffy proposition. Coaster got used to that. And as I share these stories, one time I had a preacher that told me, minister from right here in town, he told me, well, I went to speak at this church, and it's maybe 1,000 miles away. And he said, I only took enough money to get there, and I didn't take enough money to come home, and I did like you said, I didn't ask for an honorarium. And they didn't give me an honorarium, and I didn't have enough money to get home. I smiled and said, well, then what are you doing here? I said, how'd you get home? He said, well, I used my credit card. I said, my dear friend, I don't have a credit card. In fact, I don't own a car. In fact, I don't own a house. I don't have a savings account. I don't have a retirement account. I have 0 assets. And he said, well, I have to have those things to take care of my family. I said, I don't. Have I owned a house? Yeah, 3 of them. Lost money on all 3. Have I had retirement accounts? Sure. Didn't amount to a hill of beans, especially after 9/11 and Black Thursday before that and Black Monday before that. I just wasn't a wise investor. And every time we build a savings account, it seems like some crisis comes along and wipes it out. The wife and I decided a long time ago God just didn't want us to have a savings account. So we don't worry about it. When I say trusting in God, I mean trusting in God. When we pray, dear God, give us our daily bread, sometimes we really mean that. We invite people to our house all the time and they all eat for free. And it's a regular occurrence, especially in the school year. Come winter time, which is probably more significant, we have even more visitors than we do this time of year. And that's all right. We trust in God daily. That's step 1 towards taking the high road. Step number 2, you have got to build your faith. And I'm talking about actively, intelligently planning and building your faith. It's not just the words, I trust in God, I have faith in God, I'm a good Christian. These are words that make one sound religious and spiritual. I understand that. I trust in God. I have faith in God. Okay. James says, you say you have faith? Show it to me. I'll show you by my actions. And I didn't get this faith overnight, people. You know, I don't think the Apostle Paul got his faith one day on the road to Damascus, bang, a light shined, and he had faith in God. No, no, no. You missed the story of Paul's life. He built his faith from a very young age, and he had faith in God. Now, he was misguided, but he had faith in God, and he put everything he had into protecting his faith, into serving God. Faith. He built his faith. When I became a Christian, I started building my faith, and let me back up. Hold on. You know, as a teenager, I didn't really trust in God. I didn't really have faith in God. I didn't even consider myself a Christian. I played the game because my parents were Christians. But let me tell you what, before I became a teenager, as far back as I can remember, my parents helped others, and they weren't rich people. But they would drive out to this house where a blind couple lived, both blind, and they would fix pancakes, and I've talked about that before. They would stop and pick up this elderly lady who couldn't drive, she could barely walk, and they'd pick her up and take her to church. And this stuff wasn't on their way. It cost them a little, not a lot. But they participated. As kids, we went to church Bible camp every year, and that cost some money. My mom worked at the Bible camp. That helped pay for the money. But you know what? She had a day job, so she had to give up that money while she was doing this job. They instilled faith in me. And when I became a Christian, I began to understand that. And given time, I started to build on my own faith. And I started to instill in my wife that same faith, that she would start to have that same faith. And then our kids came along, and we planned, and we studied. We didn't just want children that grew up going to church on Sunday. We didn't want children that were good, moral children, 7 days a week, and everyone would say, oh, they're so wonderful, wonderful people. They do everything right. You can always trust them. No. We wanted our children to grow up to be not just good people who had the name Christian, but we wanted our children to grow up to be good, solid, strong Christians in the manner of the Apostle Paul. And those aren't just words to us. So recently, John and Ruth started a new business. Now you need to understand something here. We live in the same house. We drive vehicles they own. They own the house. They pay for the TV and the electricity and the gas and everything else. And we take our small amount of income and we give most of it to them each month. And we consider it a family affair. So when they recently went to buy a new pickup truck, well, I don't know what, 15 years old or so, They asked what we thought. We talked about it, the pros and cons, and they made a decision to go ahead and do it. Kind of seems silly in light of a few weeks later they decided to start a new business, and that truck payment's going to hurt. But you know, that truck is also going to be of great value in this business. Trust in God. Build your faith. Don't just say it, build it. They have built their faith. They trust in God, and now they are taking the high road, because as they are going through this business startup, they bought some equipment from one man. And some of the potential customers have not treated them very nicely. Some of their competition have not treated them very nicely. Some might say that actions are illegal or immoral, whatever. I'm just going to say they have not been treated nicely by everyone. But without backing down, they have taken the high road. They're riding up there on the high road where everyone can see where they stand. And they are putting others first. The people that treat them nice, the people that don't treat them nice. They are treating everyone nice. As a result, in just less than 2 weeks, good reports are coming back. No, we aren't going to make a bundle of money, or they aren't. Not for a while. They've actually spent probably close to $1,000 on doing things for people that they didn't have to do, but they felt it was the right thing to do. They are not even focused on building a customer list. They're focused on taking care of the people, whether they're customers or not, and they will make sure then that they are on the high road, so that everyone can see. They aren't sneaking around on the low road trying to get through a little marsh and muck. They're on the highway where it's nice and dry, and they are visible. Their attitudes are visible, and people will see those attitudes, and people will respond. Are you able to be on the high road? Even when somebody doesn't treat you right, even when somebody might steal from you or beat on you or gossip about you, are you on the high road? You can't get on the high road unless you trust in God. I'm talking about truly trust in God. Not just saying the words conveniently to be religious and spiritual and impress the people around you. I trust in God. It is easier for the camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven, because the rich man trusts in his possessions. If you don't have anything, it's easier to trust in God. Believe me. Paul told the Philippians in chapter 4, I've learned to be content with little and with much. I have had much in my life. I have had little. I've said this many times. Doesn't matter whether I have much or little, I trust in God. Because I've been working on that for 40 years. I have built my faith, and don't tell me I'm building my faith. Tell me how you're building your faith. I want to hear it. How are you building your faith? Velcro, P.O. Box 2819, Cheyenne, Wyoming 82003. Velcro at churchwithanattitude.com. On Facebook, Don Olin, aka Velcro. Easy to find, people. Phone number is 307-256-9324. I want to know how you are building your faith. Well, I read my Bible every day. That's precious. I can teach a 3-year-old to do that. Are you building your faith? How are you building your faith? But Velcro, I'm reading my Bible every day. That's how I build my... No, that isn't. That should actually be a given, okay? How are you building your faith? The old-time song says, living by faith in Jesus alone. Are you building faith that lets you live with nothing but trust in God? Even if your family turns their back on you, every friend you've got, every possession you own. You know, a lot of the Old Testament prophets and even the apostles had nothing. Don't tell me they didn't have enough faith, or they would have had more and they would have had better health. That is not a biblical teaching, people. You are sick because you don't pray enough. You have a poor income because you don't have enough faith. It isn't about your wealth or your health. It's about Him. Don't tell me I don't have faith because I am sick, and I am. I got so many problems, it's ridiculous. I didn't take good care of my body, and yet I got problems beyond that. It isn't about faith. Don't let somebody lay that guilt trip upon you. They're nothing but lying hypocrites and Pharisees. You could have more if you'd have faith. Hogwash. That is not what faith is. That's about being rich. And the Bible doesn't talk about being rich. King Solomon's the only one the Bible talks about being truly rich, the wealthiest man ever. And what does the Bible tell us? That he wasn't happy. Building true faith, real faith. Faith that lets you trust in God. I'll help you on a one-on-one basis if that's what you want. I preach lots of sermons that dance all around this, and some of them hit it direct on. I'll give you more if that's what you want. Only if you trust in God, only if you build your faith, can you take the high road no matter what happens. No matter what happens, people. No matter how anyone treats you. If John and Ruth's business goes under and costs them everything they have, they will trust in God because they have faith. And if this is a total failure, and I don't think it will be, but if it's a total failure, they will still have their faith and they will still trust in God. I don't know if I can say that about very many of my friends. Most of my friends seem to have faith that's comparable to the level of their wealth. Do you want to take that high road? Do you want to build your faith? It starts with trusting God. It begins there, it ends there, people. Trust in God. Why? Because He loves you. Trust in God.